The electromagnetic dust storms of Meridian churned outside the reinforced viewport, casting an eerie amber glow across the cramped monitoring station. Rowan Nakamura's fingers danced across the holographic interface, his lean frame tense with concentration. 6 months into his contract with Horizon Extraction Corporation, and something felt fundamentally wrong. The mining colony's data streams told a story of systematic suppression. Worker health records were manipulated, resource allocation reports doctored, and communication logs heavily redacted. Rowan had seen corporate corruption before, but this went beyond standard exploitation. A soft, almost imperceptible vibration caught his attention. Most would have missed it, a subtle tremor in the station's structural integrity readings that didn't match the external atmospheric conditions. His cybernetic eye, a silvery implant that replaced his right eye after a mining accident years ago, zoomed in on the anomalous data point. Something was hidden, something important. Rowan's hands moved with practiced precision, bypassing security protocols that would have stopped lesser engineers. Firewalls crumbled beneath his digital touch, revealing a hidden subsystem buried deep within the colony's infrastructure. Then he saw her. A containment chamber, masked by layers of encryption and false routing signals. Inside, a being unlike any he had encountered before. Zellara, her name flickered briefly in the metadata before being scrambled. Bioluminescent skin that shifted between deep azure and soft lavender, intricate biomechanical restraints holding her in a suspended state. Not a prisoner, something else entirely. The chamber's specifications read like a scientific nightmare: biological sampling, genetic analysis, extraction protocols, words that made Rowan's stomach churn with a mixture of professional revulsion and personal anger. He knew what extraction meant in Horizon's vocabulary: resources, exploitation, dehumanization, or in this case, despeciation. Zelara's eyes were closed, but even in stasis there was a remarkable intensity to her presence. Delicate tendrils of bioluminescent energy pulsed just beneath her skin, creating complex patterns that seemed to tell a story of their own. She wasn't just a specimen, she was intelligent, alive. Rowan's past rushed back to him. Growing up in the resource-stripped colonies of the Outer Rim, he'd seen how corporations treated sentient beings as nothing more than raw material. His parents, engineers who disappeared while investigating corporate misconduct, had taught him that silence was complicity. He wouldn't be silent, not this time. The decision crystallized in an instant: he would extract her, somehow. His cybernetic eye began calculating escape routes, analyzing the chamber's security systems. Each projection appeared more impossible than the last. Horizon's containment technologies were state-of-the-art, designed to prevent unauthorized access or extraction. But Rowan had something most engineers didn't: a personal vendetta against corporate oppression and a willingness to risk everything. Over the next 48 hours, he worked meticulously. Shift logs were altered. Security protocols were subtly manipulated. A cascade of minor system interruptions would create a window brief but potentially viable for extraction. Zellara remained motionless, her bioluminescent skin casting soft, mesmerizing patterns in the chamber. Each pulse seemed to whisper of untold stories, of a life and a world completely alien to the sterile environment of the mining colony. Rowan worked, driven by a combination of professional curiosity and a deeper, more visceral sense of justice. The corporate world had taken too much from him already. He wouldn't let it take another sentient being without a fight. As the final preparations took shape, a sense of anticipation filled the air. Something was about to change, irreversibly and completely. The electromagnetic storms outside intensified, as if sensing the impending disruption. Rowan checked his equipment one final time, his cybernetic eye calibrating with cold, precise calculation. Freedom, he knew, was never given, it was always taken. And he was ready to take it. The extraction was nothing short of a technological ballet of precision and risk. Rowan's cybernetic eye flickered with complex algorithms, creating momentary blind spots in the surveillance systems. His fingers danced across multiple interfaces, orchestrating a symphony of digital disruption that would give them mere minutes, perhaps less, to escape. Zelara's containment pod hummed with an intricate network of biomechanical restraints. As Rowan interfaced with the system, the restraints began to retract, revealing her full form for the first time. Bioluminescent patterns rippled across her skin like living light, shifting from deep azure to soft lavender, then to a brilliant silver that seemed to pulse with its own consciousness. Her eyes opened. They were not like any eyes Rowan had seen before, deep pools of liquid silver that reflected multiple dimensions simultaneously. Intelligence burned within them, raw and unfiltered. Not just intelligence, but something more, a complexity that defied simple categorization. "You are not what I expected," Zelara spoke, her voice a melodic resonance that seemed to vibrate through Rowan's entire being. It wasn't sound in the traditional sense, but a form of communication that bypassed auditory channels, speaking directly to his neural pathways. Rowan's cybernetic eye calibrated, attempting to process the unique communication. "I'm getting you out of here," he responded, his voice a stark contrast to her ethereal communication, practical, direct, laden with human determination. The first alarms began to sound. Red warning lights painted the sterile white chamber in violent streaks. Horizon's security protocols were engaging, a mechanical response to the unauthorized extraction. "The probability of successful escape is 12.3%, Zelara stated, her bioluminescent patterns now creating complex geometric shapes that seemed to map potential escape routes. A rough laugh escaped Rowan. "Those are the best odds I've had in years." Their escape was a dance of improvisation. Rowan's technical expertise merged with Zelara's seemingly intuitive understanding of the station's systems. Where he manipulated digital interfaces, she seemed capable of resonating with the very infrastructure around them, creating momentary interference, subtle disruptions that bought them precious seconds. They moved through the station's arteries, maintenance corridors, emergency access tunnels, areas designed to be invisible. Rowan's cybernetic eye continuously calculated and recalculated their path, while Zelara's bioluminescent skin acted as a living sensor, detecting potential threats before they materialized. "Your species fascinates me," Zelara communicated during a brief moment of concealment. "You create systems of oppression, yet individuals like you consistently emerge to challenge those very systems." Rowan's hand traced the outline of his cybernetic eye, a reminder of his own history with corporate violence. "Not by choice. Some of us are forced into resistance." Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of approaching security drones. Mechanical hunters, programmed with a single directive, retrieved the asset. Zelara's skin transformed, creating intricate patterns that seemed to absorb and redirect the drone's scanning frequencies. "Symbiosis," she communicated. "Your technological augmentation, my biological adaptation, two different evolutionary paths achieving similar survival mechanisms." They were more than escapee and rescuer now. They were becoming something else. A partnership forged in the crucible of immediate survival. The final barrier between them and potential freedom was a massive blast door. Standard Horizon security, multiple layered authentication protocols, biometric scanners, electromagnetic seals. The kind of security designed to be impenetrable. Rowan looked at Zelara. She looked back, her silver eyes reflecting multiple potential solutions simultaneously. Together, he asked. Her bioluminescent patterns pulsed in what could only be interpreted as agreement. The blast door would never know what hit it. The makeshift shuttle shuddered as it navigated through Meridian's treacherous atmospheric currents. Stolen, modified, a patchwork of salvage technologies that somehow managed to stay airborne, much like Rowan and Zelara's unlikely alliance. 3 standard cycles had passed since their escape from the Horizon extraction colony. Each moment was a careful negotiation of survival, trust, and the growing understanding between two beings from fundamentally different worlds. Zelara's bioluminescent skin had become a constant, mesmerizing presence within the cramped shuttle. Her ability to interface with the ship systems went beyond what Rowan had initially comprehended. Where he saw circuits and code, she perceived living networks, communication pathways that breathed and pulsed with their own form of consciousness. The ship's thermal regulator is experiencing microfractures in its quantum stabilization matrix, she communicated, her silver eyes reflecting intricate holographic projections that materialized around her fingertips. Rowan's cybernetic eye synchronized with her display, translating her intuitive understanding into actionable engineering specifications. I can reinforce the quantum coupling with a recalibrated ionic interface, he responded, his hands already moving across the shuttle's maintenance panel. Their communication had evolved, no longer just survival-driven exchanges, but a complex dialogue that bridged biological and technological languages. Rowan found himself thinking in patterns he'd never considered before, his human perspective subtly reshaping with each interaction. A warning klaxon interrupted their technical synchronization. Horizon's pursuit vessels had tracked them beyond the mining colony's immediate space. The electromagnetic signature of their stolen shuttle would be like a beacon to the corporation's relentless tracking systems. "We need to disappear," Rowan muttered, his fingers flying across the navigation controls. Zelara's bioluminescent patterns shifted, a language of emotional and strategic communication he was slowly learning to interpret. Concern, determination, a hint of what humans might call excitement. Their destination was the fractured zones, a region of space where magnetic anomalies and radiation created natural interference that could mask their technological signatures. But it was also a treacherous region, filled with spatial rifts and unpredictable gravitational currents. "The probability of successful navigation is," Zelara began. "Don't tell me the odds," Rowan interrupted, a hint of a smile breaking through his typically serious demeanor. The first pursuit vessel appeared on their long-range scanners. Sleek, predatory, designed for retrieval at any cost. Rowan's hands moved with a combination of learned skill and instinctive adaptation. His cybernetic eye calculated potential evasion routes, while Zelara's biological interface began to subtly manipulate the surrounding electromagnetic fields. Symbiosis, she communicated, a concept that went beyond mere cooperation. Their escape became a dance. Rowan's technological expertise, Zelara's biological adaptation, 2 different evolutionary paths finding a momentary perfect synchronization. The first pursuit vessel fired, a concentrated quantum disruption beam designed to disable their shuttle systems. But something extraordinary happened. Zelara's bioluminescent skin created a complex interference pattern, her biological energy field interacting with the incoming weapon in ways the corporate engineers could never have anticipated. The beam dissipated harmlessly. For the first time, Rowan saw something in Zelara's silver eyes that transcended communication. Emotion. A flash of what humans might recognize as triumph. "Impressive," he said, a rare moment of verbal appreciation. Their shuttle dove into the fractured zones, magnetic storms creating a chaotic canvas around them. Pursuit vessels fell back, unable to navigate the treacherous spatial environment. But survival was only the beginning. They both knew that. The horizon would not stop, it could not stop. And their real journey was just starting. The hidden resistance base on Nexus Prime was nothing like the sterile corporate environments Rowan had known. Carved into the living rock of an asteroid, it pulsed with a raw, organic energy that seemed to bridge the gap between technological rebellion and natural survival. 3 lunar cycles had passed since their escape from the Horizon extraction colony. Rowan and Zelara had become more than escapees. They were now key strategists in a movement that challenged the fundamental structures of corporate galactic dominance. Lyra Voss, the Resistance's lead strategist, studied the holographic projection of Horizon's latest expansion routes. Her cybernetic arm, a testament to her own history of corporate violence, clicked rhythmically against the communication console. "The data Rowan extracted," Lyra said, her voice carrying the weight of calculated determination, "is more valuable than we initially understood." Zelara's bioluminescent skin rippled with complex patterns, a visual representation of the intricate data they had smuggled out. Where human analysts saw numbers and roots, she perceived living networks of information, interconnected and breathing. Horizon's resource extraction isn't just about minerals, Zelara communicated, her silver eyes projecting holographic representations that danced around the room. They're conducting large-scale biological experiments. Entire species are being categorized as potential resource vectors. Rowan's cybernetic eye synchronized with her projection, translating her intuitive understanding into precise technological analysis. The layers of corporate manipulation ran deeper than anyone had imagined. Their relationship had transformed. No longer just survivors, they were now partners in rebellion, in understanding, in something that defied simple categorization. The initial survival-driven connection had evolved into a profound symbiosis that challenged the very notion of individual identity. "We need to hit their primary research station in the Carina sector," Lyra interrupted, her cybernetic arm recalibrating the holographic map. "But it's a fortress, quantum-shielded, multiple defensive layers." A subtle communication passed between Rowan and Zelara, a language of slight movements, bioluminescent shifts, and synchronized technological interfaces that spoke volumes without a single spoken word. "Not impenetrable," Rowan said, a rare smile cutting across his typically serious expression. The resistance base was a mosaic of beings who had been wronged by corporate systems, humans with technological augmentations, biological entities from a dozen different star systems, each with a story of loss, of resistance, of hope. Zelara's presence was particularly remarkable. Her species, the Luminari, were rarely seen outside their home systems, mysterious, powerful, typically neutral in galactic conflicts. Her very presence among the resistance was a statement. Their plan was audacious. Use Zelara's unique biological interface to penetrate Horizon's quantum shields. Leverage Rowan's engineering expertise to create a cascading system failure. Strike at the heart of the corporate machine. But something else was growing between them, beyond the mission, beyond survival. During moments of quiet preparation, they would synchronize, Rowan's technological augmentations merging with Zelara's bioluminescent capabilities. Not just a tactical connection, but something more intimate. A sharing of experiences, of perspectives. "Your concept of individual identity is fascinating," Zelara had communicated during one such moment. "Humans define themselves through separation. My species understands existence as interconnection." Rowan's response had been a subtle softening of his typically hard exterior, an acknowledgement of something profound. The resistance gathered. Final preparations were made. The mission to infiltrate the Horizon Research Station would challenge everything they understood about corporate power, individual resistance, and the nature of freedom itself. Lyra Voss looked at Rowan and Zellura, the most unlikely partnership she had ever witnessed. "Are you ready?" Their response was instantaneous, synchronized, a perfect fusion of technological precision and biological adaptation. The rebellion was about to make its most significant move. The Horizon Research Station hung in space like a metallic nightmare, a testament to corporate ambition and systematic dehumanization. Its quantum shields pulsed with an arrogant, impenetrable light, impossible to breach, designed to be unconquerable. They would prove it wrong. Rowan and Zellura's final approach was a culmination of everything they had become. Not just partners, not just allies, something far more complex. Their synchronization had evolved beyond any scientific understanding, a fusion of technological precision and biological intuition that defied conventional perception. Zellura's bioluminescent skin created intricate interference patterns, her biological energy weaving through the station's quantum shields like living code. Where technology ended and her biological essence became impossible to distinguish. Rowan's cybernetic systems interfaced with her unique capabilities, creating a hybrid network of unprecedented complexity. "We are more than the sum of our parts," she communicated, a statement that was simultaneously a tactical observation and a profound emotional revelation. Their infiltration was poetry in motion. Quantum shields that had repelled countless attacks simply dissolved, not destroyed, transformed. Zellura's biological interface rewriting fundamental computational language at its most basic level. Inside the station, the true scope of Horizon's operations became terrifyingly clear. Entire ecosystems cataloged as potential resource vectors. Sentient beings reduced to data points. Biological specimens stored in stasis, waiting to be processed, commodified, eliminated. Rowan's past, the disappeared parents, the corporate violence that had shaped his entire existence crystallized in this moment. This was more than a mission, this was personal. Zellura sensed the emotional surge. Her bioluminescent patterns shifted, creating a supportive resonance that transcended verbal communication. Healing, understanding, connection. The Central Research Hub was a cathedral of corporate cruelty. Stasis chambers lined the walls, each containing a being from a different star system. Potential, reduced to inventory. "We free them all," Rowan said, a declaration, not a suggestion. Their method of liberation was as remarkable as their infiltration. Zellura's biological interface began to communicate with the stasis systems, not just override, communicate, understanding, awakening. Each chamber became a portal of potential rather than a prison of suppression. Beings began to emerge, confused, cautious, then hopeful. Horizon's security response was instantaneous, but they were fighting a force they could not comprehend. Every technological attack was absorbed, transformed, redirected by the symbiotic network that Rowan and Zellura had created. In the central control room, the corporate director, a man who had reduced entire civilizations to profit margins, could only watch in horror as his empire dissolved around him. "It's impossible," he muttered. Zellura's response was a complex bioluminescent pattern that translated to a simple concept: nothing is impossible, only unexplored. The station's destruction was not violent, it was a transformation, systems reimagined, potential restored. As they evacuated the freed beings, something profound happened. Rowan realized the cybernetic augmentation that had once been a mark of corporate violence was now something else entirely. An extension of connection, of possibility. Zelara's silver eyes met his. No words were necessary. They had done more than escape, more than resist. They had reimagined what freedom could mean. In the vast darkness of space, their stolen shuttle carried not just survivors, but a fundamental challenge to every system of oppression that had come before. The revolution had begun.